The Starship, also known as the Super Heavy, is said to be the most powerful rocket, having an enormous size and producing an incredible amount of thrust, even though the booster has not been launched into orbital space. In contrast, SpaceX's Super Heavy has been updated with new features and is expected to be launched in June 2022. You may wonder, what are the new features? Or, how powerful is the rocket? Another option is to see how SpaceX is testing the booster. That will be the subject of our talk in today's video. But before we proceed, kindly subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to stay updated on our new releases. Without further delay, let's get started. The development of Starship is iterative and incremental, with the majority of funding coming from SpaceX. 9 full-scale models of the upper stage of the Starship have been built and tested by the company, with others being scrapped before completion. There are a wide variety of tests, from proof pleasure and static fires to full flight tests with an attempt to recover. The Starship rocket tests have received a lot of attention because of the company's openness to media. The first stage of a rocket is called the Super Heavy stage, and it is located at the bottom of the rocket. Up to 33 sea-level optimized Raptor engines are housed in the 70-meter, 230 feet tall booster. The engine cluster may be more powerful than the Saturn V, the rocket that powered the NASA Apollo of the 1960s and 1970s. There are 3 booster tanks on the Super Heavy that can contain 3,600 metric tons, or 7,900,000 pounds, of propellant, which is made up of 6,200,000 pounds of liquid oxygen and 1,800,000 pounds of liquid methane. For example, without a propellant, Super Heavy's dry mass has been estimated to be between 160 tons and 200 tons. Of this, the tanks weigh 80 tons, 180,000 pounds, the interstage between the booster and spacecraft weigh 40 tons, 44,000 pounds, and the entire engine mounting system weighs 52 tons, 115,000 pounds. Each of the booster's 4 grid fins weigh 3 tons, 6,600 pounds. Using grid fins, the craft has better control over its pitch and can only spin on the roll axis because of the irregular spacing of the fins. To manage the booster's descent and to serve as a landing site for the mechanical arms, the fins may be used. Super Heavy capture needs tremendous accuracy. However, the turnaround time after landing may be reduced, and repeated launches can be made possible. Super Heavy may use cold gas thrusters fueled by a propellant that evaporates within the tanks to adjust the booster's orientation. For as long as they're in orbit together, the Super Heavy and Starship can operate independently of each other. The Starship spacecraft is being developed for dual usage, both as a long-duration spacecraft on certain missions and as the second stage of a 2-stage-to-orbit launch vehicle on every launch. This will allow it to reach orbit more efficiently. The dry weight of the spacecraft is less than 100 tons, and it has a height of 50 meters, 160 feet. By using tanker spacecraft to refuel the Starship spacecraft while it is in orbit, it is conceivable to transfer goods and humans to far-off locales such as the Moon, Mars, and other planets. This is made possible by sending the Starship spacecraft into orbit. The Starship has a total propellant capacity of 1,200 tons distributed between its 2 main tanks and 2 header tanks, 2,600,000 pounds. The capacity of the header tank is designed for retaining liquid oxygen or liquid methane in the main tanks and header tanks so that the Starship may be flipped and land during re-entry. There is no precedent for a payload volume as large as Starship's, which could be as large as 1,000 meters cubed in the previous 7 decades of spaceflight. Starship's volume could reach up to 1,000 meters cubed, 35,000 cubic feet. At the very bottom of the Starship spacecraft are 6 Raptor engines. Of these, 3 are built for use in the lower atmosphere and will also assist propulsive landings, while the other 3 are Raptor vacuum engines, which are tuned for use in the vacuum of space. The body of the spacecraft has 4 flaps that may be used to control the falling speed and orientation of the spacecraft. 2 of the flaps are installed near the nose cone, while the other 2 are mounted towards the bottom of the spacecraft. They have had a metal coating applied to the hinges that hold them in place, since it is possible for them to get destroyed during re-entry. The heat shield on the Starship is constructed out of thousands of hexagonal tiles, each of which is mounted and spaced out to counteract heat expansion. This ensures that the heat shield can be used multiple times without requiring any maintenance to be accomplished on it. The form of the tiles was purposefully designed to be hexagonal so that they could endure temperatures of up to 1400 degrees Celsius. 2 rows of stretch-formed steel will be used to create the spacecraft's nose cone beginning in August 2021. It can be noticed that a section of Booster 7's liquid methane transfer tube flows in through the booster's new liquid oxygen header tank. This can be seen in the image. At the tail end of the rocket is where the primary liquid oxygen tank of the Super Heavy resides. Inside this tank is where the head of the tank is located. When the booster isn't at max output, you would need to deliver an incredible 20 tons or 45,000 pounds of methane every second. However, because of the Super Heavy's liquid methane transfer tube, methane can safely flow through the main liquid oxygen tank and fuel up to 33 Raptor engines. However, the tube does a lot more for me than just transporting me via the oxygen tank in Booster 7. It is now possible for SpaceX to convert to a header tank in the middle of a flight by using a system of valves that closes off the main liquid methane tank when it is depleted of its contents. By doing this, the tube will be transformed into a massive storage tank for liquid methane, which will be used for the boost back in landing burns. However, there was no way to know for sure that the damage did not take place while the actual testing was being done. During the process of emptying the booster's transfer tube of liquid oxygen or nitrogen, it is quite likely that an operator inadvertently closed or opened the incorrect valves. It is possible that the tube would have collapsed due to a lack of pressure equalization as the heavy liquid contents drained from it. This would have caused the vacuum to draw in fast. We can only imagine how mortified the employee or workers in question would be if this turned out to be the case. People believed it was the end of the line for Booster 7, but SpaceX has been able to turn things around for the booster by doing repairs. The prototype has been reinstalled on the orbital launch platform so that it may undergo more tests and procedures. Before carrying out a set of 4 cryogenic proof tests, SpaceX first finished certain tests to verify that Booster 7 has returned to its regular operating state. As a consequence of the successful test flights, SpaceX has started the process of installing the new Raptor V2 on Booster 7. As soon as the crew began moving the engines to the Mega Bay assembly building where the booster was kept, this became obvious. According to the labels that were found on some of the Raptor engines that were discovered around the assembly area, SpaceX observers had made some intriguing observations on how SpaceX wants to go about conducting Booster 7's static fire test. 2 of the 3 engines found had marks on them that suggested they were Raptor boost engines. This label is given to the engines that would take up the booster's outer ring. This leads one to believe that SpaceX intends to complete the installation of all 33 Raptors on the rocket before beginning static fire testing. Many observers anticipated that SpaceX would begin its operations with little more than 3 Raptor engines, and would then add more when trials produced successful results. It seems that SpaceX will put all 33 engines through simultaneous testing, which increases the likelihood that something may go wrong. Even if it is dangerous, it will make it possible to complete the test more quickly, since additional components, such as heat shields and aero covers, may be mounted more quickly. This indicates that the testing procedure for Booster 7 will be completed considerably more quickly than the procedure for Booster 4. That's all for today, guys. Feel free to let us know your thought about the Super Heavy rocket being launched into orbit in the comment section. Also, kindly subscribe to our channel, like the video, and hit the bell icon to get access to more of our videos. Thanks for watching!